It might be something in the water, but we have yet another new custom race. Frankly, this is awesome. If you're willing to look outside the 3 traditional StarCraft 2 walls, it's a pretty cool time to be an SC2 gamer. Anywho, introducing the Synoid. Before I get carried away, let me underscore, the Synoid is in its early testing phase, not its finished form. Think of this as kind of like a preview or a sneak peek. We are seeing some flashes of coolness here, and I definitely think this is going to be something to keep an eye on. The Synoid are going to be a fully playable race with many elements familiar to Zerg and Protoss players, but also with some, what the hey, can you really do that kind of components as well. The first thing you'll notice is your harvester can't actually build anything at the start of the game. I call these little guys Oompa Loompas because of their pointy hats, but their proper name is Prospector. Prospectors can't build anything because it turns out most buildings are made from the command center, the starting building called the Mycosynaptic Choir. It's a bit reminiscent of the UED call down. No worker required, you just tell the command center where you want to build it, and voila, a cool flashy effect happens and the building starts to build itself. Now, the limitation is it has to be in the range of the Mycosynaptic Choir or within the range of the basic supply granting structure, a building called the Microprocessor. And yes, you can chain the supply structures and relay them out like Zerg Creep or the Hybrid Network, meaning you could eventually call down a factory right next to your opponent's base, but presumably the game is over long before then. This call-down style of building does not include turrets though, so get that fantasy out of your head. Those are built in the classic way by the Prospector harvesters, who do cannibalize themselves when they build, like Zerg or the APL. And you know what? I'll just pause here to briefly highlight the turrets because they are particularly fun. The first turret, the Hellstrom missile turret, is a ground-only turret until you research what I suspect is a pretty essential upgrade, which transforms the turret into a ground plus air turret. And at 250 hit points, it's reasonably sturdy. And yes, it also detects. The second turret, the Satcom tower, is a healing turret that heals buildings, such as the Hellstrom missile turret, or nearby mechanical units. What's funky is that the heal is auto-cast whenever anything nearby falls under 1/3 of its hit points. Then it goes on cooldown. The subject of the heal gets a protective shield and then heals 200 hit points over 10 seconds. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk unit production. This starts out very familiar. There are 3 intuitive production facilities. There's a Rax for Bio, called a Garrison, a factory for Mech, called an Assembly, and a starport for Air, called a Hangar. And they all produce 1 unit at a time with no special acceleration mechanics to master. All 3 production facilities, though, can be upgraded to Super. It's kind of like turning your Spire into a Greater Spire. That lets you unlock the more complex units. Plus, a few of the more powerful units also require additional tech structures to unlock. All of this is a very familiar meal so far. Really, the crazy sauce is all in the build mechanics and the units themselves. I like that, as it helps the Synoid conform to the philosophy I like to see. Easy to learn, hard to master. Before I forget, I should let you know who the mad genius behind all this is. This is the work of Mercea Hinestraza. And just like a lot of us around these parts, Hinestraza is a huge fan of the legendary Solstice, creator of the Scion custom races. Now, the question I'm almost certain to be asked is, how do I find and play the Synoid myself? This is done through an extension mod. The one you're looking for is called Synoid Race Mod, W.I.P. If you're not familiar with what an extension mod is, they're easy to use. I suggest you try my tutorial on the subject. Just swap out the Scion part for Synoid. And if you'd like to get serious about discussing the mod or discuss it with the creator, you can find people with like interests on the SC2 All Races Discord. Link in the description. If you see Viceroid, tell him Zug sent you. and that you're here for the complimentary muffin basket. If you are going to attempt the Synoid, just remember it's early days. There's still a lot of bugs, a lot of things to be worked out. And yes, if you recognize some of the units, you've seen them before, it's probably been borrowed and repurposed. That happens a lot with these custom races, usually by necessity. Anyways, before I go, I'm just going to leave you with a very historic moment. What you are witnessing is the very first point of contact between Ultralisks and the Synoid. I gotta tell you, the Ultras weren't all that impressed. But I feel like this is a welcome to StarCraft initiation rite that every race must go through at some point. Do let me know if you'd like to see an actual cast of a Synoid game. Hopefully we can make that happen. But that's the sneak preview, so let me just say, from my base to yours, Zugswang out.